Are you going to be the Grinch?
Yeah. I'll be the Grinch.
Little green face paint, you could pull it off.
Can you get in trouble for doing green face?
I don't think so.
I'm Arizona Family political editor Dennis Welch.
Dennis, fake news Welch. Try to tell the truth.
And this is the Politics Unplugged podcast.
Dennis, if you have a problem with substance abuse, I am more than willing to talk to you anytime you need.
Welcome back to another edition of Politics Unplugged, the podcast. And today we're bringing back Hank Stevenson.
Not fired yet.
Arizona Agenda Man. You're a regular now, I think. Thanks for coming back, dude.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for offering the Vietnamese coffee. He offered me one. I was supposed to ask Colin if he wanted one, but I didn't, so I failed on that.
I'm good, but thank you.
This was the most obnoxious thing I could do, was show up an hour late holding a Vietnamese iced coffee that I clearly stopped for on the way here.
So we invited you here today because we wanted to take kind of a look ahead. We're starting to see bills being pre-filed at the legislature. We'll talk about some of those, and we'll talk a little bit about what to expect from the campaigns as we're heading into a midterm election and a massive governor's race that the entire world will be watching this year.
We're the center of attention every year.
Every year. And we've incorporated some props here. We've got the Magic 8 Ball, which we will be asking its predictions. And then we will discuss whether we agree or disagree with that.
Concentrate and ask again. I didn't know that was an option. That's a pretty good one.
There's some new options on that
Yeah.
thing, man. Yeah. I mean, we had
recognized a few, but we switched it up. No cap is what the 8 balls are saying now.
So let's start a little bit. They're pre-filing some bills. There's a few dozen now already. Session doesn't start until, the second week of January?
Yep.
So anything catch your eye so far?
You know, there's a couple of retreads on there. I figured John Kavanaugh is good for at least one bathroom bill a year. Seems like he's coming through, so that's good. The election stuff that got filed early on caught my attention. I'm depressed to see that we're still heading down this road, but apparently we are, so that's going to suck some
these
oxygen
bills will obviously make it easier to cast your ballot, right?
Yes. It's everyone can vote, same day registration.
Exactly.
You know, the usual Republican agenda from the legislature. No, it's not that. They want to get rid of. I mean, they want to get rid of voting by mail. They realize that that's not going to happen straight out, so they're trying to weaken the entire voting by mail system, which 90% of Arizonans use. So.
And when you say they, you're talking about Republicans, which blows my mind. I mean, this is a Republican invention in Arizona, basically, back in the 90s.
Those were rhinos, not Republicans.
That's true. Well, one of those rhinos who voted for it was David Schweikert.
That checks out.
But and I say rhinos facetiously. I don't want to go on record as me saying I actually think he is. He is an old school Republican. But Republicans, by and large, have just largely benefited from mail-in voting for years. You covered the same elections I have. It's like they always outperform Democrats with early voting, and they continue to win election cycle after election cycle here. I don't get it except for Trump.
Yeah. I mean, the well has been poisoned. Now it's this weird dance of like, go vote by mail. Also, we're going to get rid of this crooked voting by mail system. You know, like the messaging is insane. The whole system is insane. It's gotten weirder and weirder. And I kind of thought that like by now this would drop off. Like it's really hard to make the case that if elections are riggable, that we had Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, right? So there's not a whole lot of good reason to carry this on, but I think it acts as a halfway decent front for what Republicans have really wanted to do for a long time, which is, you know, limit the voters, limit the type of voters. You and I were around a couple of years back when they were talking about the quality of voters is more important than the quantity.
Yes.
And, you know, like that gets into some real dangerous territory when you're describing the quality.
And I remember
voters.
when I was a kid, it was like people begging and pleading for folks. You go out and vote.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to make it harder.
Well, we get really good turnout in a presidential year because it is pretty easy to vote in Arizona. You know, you can register once for the permanent, used to be permanent early voting list. Now it's active early voting list. Soon it will be non-existent early voting list. But right now, you get those ballots in the mail, and it's a lot easier than remembering to take time off on that Tuesday, and it means you're not standing in line if you are showing up to vote. If we do away with mail voting, we're going to have to invest serious infrastructure and resources into our in-person voting because that is not a system designed to handle millions of Arizonans showing up on Election Day voting in person.
Yeah, and essentially the governor's going to veto this stuff again.
Well, that's the issue. Is one of these bills is a referendum to the ballot, so it would be a constitutional change. So it'll be up to the people to veto it, and presumably they will, but that's not as sure a shot as the governor, who will absolutely shoot these things down.
Yeah, and let me ask you your opinion on this then. At this point, do they really want to do this, or make these take these measures to the ballot, pass these measures, or is this still a good fundraising mechanism? Because they file these pieces of legislation and then bang, surprise, surprise, there's a press release out with a button at the end that you can click on and be taken right to their campaign websites to give them some of your sweet cash.
Yeah, legitimate question there, because I think, the one that I'm specifically thinking of is coming from Representative Alex Collodin, who is running for Secretary of State next year. This is a political ploy, and I think he went on a right-wing radio show right after he had introduced this bill and talked about how all the rhinos are coming out against him already. And so that tells me, maybe there's not even an appetite within the Republican caucus to do some of this stuff, but it is, clearly at least a few people have a vested interest in making a lot of noise about this, whether, at the end of the day, the pretty thin GOP majority wants to actually send this to the ballot. Probably not a huge threat, but, it's hard for people to break ranks. If it comes down to a vote and, there are bare minimum number of Republicans, they tend to close ranks. The real trick is, keeping it from coming up for a vote or amending it so it's not so, troublesome or things like that can happen. But, yeah, I mean, some people want it to happen, and it's hard to break that, partisan gridlock of, just.
And I just don't see the voters, if they do send this to the ballot, like going out, casting their ballots to limit their options.
No.
Like you said, 80-90%, depending on who you talk to, or whatever, Arizona voters use that. Why? Because it's freaking easy, man.
Yeah. And, at most, maybe a third of the electorate actually believes this junk, that our elections are rigged, stuff like that. So at the end of the day, I don't see this passing if it does make it to the ballot. But,
Yeah. Another thing I'm expecting pretty quickly is going to be a fight over the tax package that Hobbs is trying to push. It's
Democratic tax cuts.
Yeah, there you go, baby.
And more and more, it just feels like we've got a Doug Ducey light up there on the 9th floor.
I was thinking MAGA light.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
Make Arizona Great Again
there
slogan
you go.
for her campaign.
Well, her campaign, like, if you went out and asked, like, a casual observer, person on the street interview, and you said, okay, tell me what kind of candidate this is. And I'm going to describe this candidate as somebody who is running on Trump's tax cuts, running on being tough on the border, and has branded their campaign Arizona First. I bet you most people, again, someone who pays casual attention would say, well, that's probably a Republican or a MAGA candidate.
And I think that's the intention here. Is,
Yes.
just make Katie Hobbs look as, centrist as possible, which, in strategy, fine. But when I pointed this out in the agenda, I got an earful from the campaign about everybody says their state first. I'm like, come on, guys, don't waste my time with this.
I know. It's like, not my first campaign.
Yeah.
We've been here, but yeah, I wonder though, because I know, every political observer will tell me, like, it's like, well, she's got to cross over and get some of those Republicans.
For sure.
But when you've got when you're running statewide and your party is facing a deficit of over 300,000 voters, which is where the registration is, you got to be careful you don't
alienate
them to where they don't come out and vote. I mean, that's a real situation. And if she's seen as somebody who's like MAGA light, a tamer version of Doug Ducey up there, how excited are they Democrats going to be to come out, cast their ballots for Katie Hobbs?
Yeah, and I think there is some, like, how excited will they be to actually turn out? We don't have a presidential election this year, so it's not, a referendum on Trump that they get to deliver, and maybe some people stay home, but also, like, is she really going to alienate the base when it's, Andy Biggs, or pick your Republican candidate on the other side? It's a lot like the presidential election where it's, it's are you with Trump or are you against Trump? And I don't know. I don't see that like really dragging. Katie Hobbs has done a very good job of keeping the Democratic base together, I think. Nobody's riled up about Katie. Hardcore progressive liberal Democrats are riled up about Katie Hobbs. But they still show up for her. I mean, look at Chris Mays' election. Chris Mays is probably definitely the most progressive statewide candidate. Democrats love her.
Leader of the resistance, man.
Yes, but she, eked out a victory. Whereas
320
Katie Hobbs
votes.
Yes, so there is something to be said for this strategy of, taking for granted the most progressive parts of the base that they will vote for you one way or another because the other option is bad for them.
Well, could this tax fight be an issue in that? Because, Republicans I'm talking to, they want the whole tax package from Trump. That's what, $428 million. Hobbs is proposing parts of that package for a price tag of around $210 million. I mean, from what I hear, Republicans want to send her the whole Trump tax package. Does she veto that in an election year?
That's a pretty good question. I don't know the answer to that. If it
Ask
comes
the 8
to
ball.
her desk. There we go. That's why we have this third guest. Oh, it is certain.
She's going. Okay,
Wow.
the 8 ball
Wait,
is.
did we say she was going to sign it or she's going to veto it?
Okay,
we got to ask the question.
let's ask the
properly.
question properly.
This is some polling methodology we've got to learn here. Wait, okay. The question is,
will the governor veto the entire Trump tax package if the Republicans send it to her desk?
the 8 ball is consistent. Definitely yes.
Wow.
We got to veto, people. We got to veto. Breaking.
For those of you who aren't watching, we are shaking the 8 ball. Asking the 8 ball whether I don't think she'll veto it. I don't know.
I don't know. She hasn't been shy with the veto.
No, definitely not. But a tax.
This goes too far. I have offered tax credits or, the tax reductions for Arizona's hardest working middle class families. We don't need this X, Y, and Z. She could make that case.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, do they not send her a smaller package? I think she's been pretty successful with holding that line and forcing the legislature to get to that line.
But, if she does veto that, doesn't she open herself to the attack? Because the ads are already run like, affordability is the big issue, going to be it's the new immigration, right? It's going to be the big issue coming out there. And like the ads write themselves, if she vetoes this, like here's a governor doesn't care, doesn't want to give you any relief, any financial relief. That's a real risk.
On the other side, she's going to be running on has cut taxes for Arizonans. Is it, 200 million, 400 million?
Well, the 200 million she wants to cut it's billed as the middle class tax cut. But if you go to the 428, people could see that as like, oh, there's Governor Hobbs giving millionaires a big tax break. So I don't know. But I do think that is going to be a big fight to start this legislature.
Yeah, she's even talking about a special session. Like that's wild.
We're gonna open up with a special session. Yeah. Why? Oh, okay, whatever.
It's an election year. Why not?
Sure. But the 8 ball has spoken.
The 8 ball has spoken. She will veto that.
Okay.
Glad we could take that decision off the governor's plate for her. That's a big one.
All right. Colin, you're keeping track of the 8 ball predictions?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
what
on
else
top of it.
Want to make some more predictions here?
Veto on the tax cuts.
Veto on the tax cuts. Okay. Will the governor sign the bill that would make Ivermectin an over-the-counter drug?
My sources say no.
Oh,
This has done some reporting beforehand.
Wow.
To check this out. But,
wow.
yeah.
The 8 Ball. She will not sign that bill. She'll.
Honestly, I feel like this 8 Ball is 2 for 2 at this point.
I think
we can check back in 6 months. But
all right.
I'm feeling good.
For anybody who not.
God, this takes a lot of the work out of these interviews.
Why work, dude? Why work, man? So those not familiar, ivermectin is a horse dewormer, livestock dewormer that became popular for human use during COVID, during the pandemic, because they would take that, and then people believed it would help cure or COVID-19 or what, and other things now that ail them.
Dennis has been on it for months. Look at him; he looks amazing.
I love, you know what I love? I love a grape flavored ivermectin paste.
The paste, huh?
It's a paste.
You mix it in with your drinks or a little
Dennis
smoothie.
hasn't had worms in months.
Months, dude. You should have seen me a few months ago dragging around here. It was weird.
Glad we could get that cleared up. So you're still gonna need a prescription, or like, how do you just did a story on this? How do you acquire ivermectin?
Well, right now, you go to the feed
familiar with
store.
this. Oh,
You go to the feed store wherever they sell hay and.
seems legit.
But this bill would clear the way for it to be sold over the counter without a doctor's prescription.
Pop those cough drops. Just
Yeah, it's like you buy some, some Ricola cough the Ricola cough drops and a little bit of ivermectin paste, and you just move on with your life. Now, this was sponsored by Representative Cupper from the West Side, from Surprise, and he says a constituent bill. His constituents want this. He's also told me that he's never taken ivermectin and has no intentions of taking ivermectin.
Live and let live. That's what I say. If people want the drugs, just give them the drugs.
But yeah, I'm going to have to agree with the 8 Ball on this because it's not been approved by the FDA for these kinds of uses. It's been approved for certain things, like there's some skin creams that for human use that ivermectin is in or mixed in with or something. But I would see that Katie Hobbs would probably veto or not sign that bill.
Yeah, I think there will be a significant number of vetoes again this year. Record-breaking year of vetoes.
Ooh.
Should we? Yeah.
Should we
check?
Yes, let's do it.
Yes. Will it be a record-breaking year of vetoes? No, concentrate and ask again. Okay. Will it be a record-breaking year of vetoes? It is decidedly so.
Wow.
Decidedly.
The 8 Ball's doing pretty good, because I'm going to have to agree with that.
Yeah.
You know why? Because it's an election year. The amount of stuff that's going to be sent up to her office and the amount of retread bills, we saw that last year, that she's already vetoed. She's going to veto them again.
That's the thing. Every year there's a couple of new, and then the same number of past vetoes make it to her desk. So it's just kind of like builds each time. That you've got your baseline of here's how many vetoes I'm got to get, and then each year there's a few more new ones.
Oh, it's fascinating, man. Fascinating. I'm digging this 8 Ball
Yeah.
stuff.
You got another one?
What do
we
you
even need a guest, or can it just be Dennis shaking an 8 Ball and answering himself?
Well, what are you curious about for next year in the legislature?
I'm curious about the budget process. It's been really interesting to watch. One thing is like bills, yes, no, veto, sign. Another thing is like we need a budget at the end of the day, and how are you going to get there? First year they got there by, first year in split government with a Democratic governor, we got there by just giving everyone a slush fund, and we overspent, and then we had to really cut back, and those budgets are kind of easier in a way.
And try to take back the slush.
Yes, you took back all the slush, and then so this year, we're kind of financially constrained, not as bad as it was looking a couple of months ago, but it's still going to be a tough budgeting season, and with the governor trying to give out, tax cuts as we're struggling to keep up with enough revenue to just pay our basic services with federal cuts all over the place.
And on the out years, you got some big price tag stuff coming up. Yeah. You've got school construction. I think that's $8 billion. They lost that court case. They were underfunding capital needs of the schools. You've got what they've also lost in court on the healthcare system for the prisons. All that stuff is going to probably be coming in the out years. That's been on appeal, but
well, and then there was stuff like Prop 123. Remember Prop
Oh, yeah.
123? That used
How
to
could we
provide
forget?
$300 million a year and change that now we're just covering from the general fund. Like we just let go of that revenue source. I haven't heard anyone talk about that in a solid 6 months, but I assume that's going to be on the agenda again because we're continuing to pay as if we're taking in the money from Prop 123, even though we are not. So, big decisions on that front. And that's one of those areas where I find more interesting because there's give and take. There's real negotiation. There's tough decisions to be made, not just political posturing. Send it to the governor. Oh, no, she vetoed it. We didn't see that coming. It's not
But I mean, it seems like it could be set up. I don't know. This could be a pretty contentious session, or it could be pretty easy because, every election cycle,
They wanna get done
They
early.
want to get done early. I mean, 8 Ball.
What will
100
we be
days.
done? Yes, okay, 100 days.
100 days. Well, before, yeah.
Outlook good. Outlook good.
Okay.
Wasn't it decidedly too? I feel
Okay.
like this thing is really listening to us.
Wow.
Outlook
I'm
good.
getting a little bit creeped out. I don't know if I want to ask
This
it
was
anymore.
a good gimmick.
I don't know if I want to
glad you
ask
brought
it
this
anymore.
on.
My bosses will be watching.
Will
going,
Dennis make it through another year here at 3TV?
Don't you know?
Oh, cannot predict now.
Ooh,
Sorry, bud. There's always a place
ooh.
for you at the agenda if you need it. Just let me know.
Well, I may need it after my bosses see this. Go, we could hire. We feel the 8 Ball could fill your role rather neatly.
I mean, isn't that what we're all just doing on these podcasts anyway? It's just kind of
Oh,
like,
God.
yeah, it's definitely so. I predict yes.
Much more on the national
Outlook
level.
not good.
Much more on the national level, where people are just paid to say something interesting, and they're not paid.
They
to
get
say
paid? I didn't know there was an option to get paid. Do I get paid?
We're local, man. We do this out of charity.
That's right. It's for the love of the game. What are you expecting next year, Dennis? What's your
Like
what's
I
your
said,
big
I think
prediction?
we covered the big one. I'm really interested in that how that fight turns out over the tax package. Whether the governor vetoes this whole thing, because I'm assuming they're gonna send up, Republicans are gonna send up some version of the Trump tax package that is like most of it, maybe some tweaks. What does she do with that then? I really don't know. There's risk both ways.
Remind me, how do line item vetoes work in the budget process?
Oh,
there's a trivia one for you. We don't
There-
see that
there's
often,
a-
but I feel like there's
There's
something
an
to
agenda
arrange.
explainer
Yeah,
coming right
okay,
there.
Okay, I'll get on it. Once we're back from our little mini break, that's what I'll do is line item veto explainer. That's a good topic.
Yeah.
Put it on the list.
So I'm fascinated to see how that turns out. It's going to be a real fight because, again, I think next week we'll probably have someone like Kavanaugh on a TV show to
fun.
talk about this. And, Kavanaugh's head of the Senate of Probes, and he won't hold back. I'm assuming he will tell me that they want what the president wants on this. So.
What about the election? That's the big one we haven't touched on for
Oh,
2026.
I think
it's
I
not
think
just a legislative session.
I
We've
think
got
the
a
8
whole-
Ball is going to get a workout
Okay,
here
what
on
do we
this
got?
one.
What do we got?
All right.
Will
I mean,
Andy Biggs
okay.
be the Republican nominee for Arizona governor?
All right.
Is that it?
Let's do it.
Most likely.
Yeah,
That's about how I feel too. I know,
Yeah,
right? What am I even doing here?
This is kind of tripping me out, man. Yeah, because I think most likely yes. He's got the resume. He's the credentials. He's tight with Trump. He went to World Series
He's
games with him.
co-endorsed. by
He's
Trump,
co-endorsed.
which-
I think with Karen Taylor Robeson, she spent a lot of money a few years ago running for governor, and that money went to show her as like a centrist business Republican, right? That kind of might work against her in this cycle.
Yeah. Now she's trying to run in a new lane, and
Yeah.
she spent millions and millions of dollars putting herself into another lane. I think that's like my main hang up on seeing the Republicans get behind Karen Taylor Robeson is the base of the Republican Party, which is the majority of the primary election voters, won't buy that for lack of a better term. I think that this is a really big pivot that she's doing that just does not feel in any way genuine.
Yeah, because the big buzzword over the past several election cycles with candidates is authenticity, right?
Andy
does she
Biggs
meet
has
that standard?
authenticity.
Yeah.
He may not have, charisma. He may not have money, but he has always been Andy Biggs,
Yeah.
and he will always be Andy Biggs. David Schweikert kind of fits a little bit more neatly into that. I don't want to say moderate lane because that's not it, but like old school, traditional, conservative fiscal policy hawk lane.
But the thing with his problem is he fits in the lane of no Trump endorsement, which we've seen in Arizona is just lethal in those Republican primaries. You know, you've almost got to have that right now. I mean, I've never seen anything like this in my professional career covering this stuff. But it seems like a necessary if you want to get through. I mean, Abe Hamadeh, won his race in a district he didn't even live in.
Yeah,
just
basically off of that endorsement.
Yeah.
Did you see the edition I did a couple of weeks back about the political prediction markets? Do you invest in the political stock market at all, Dennis?
Yes.
Do you really?
No, absolutely not. What I'm waiting for is like some sort of like political betting scandal.
Oh yeah, I'm working on that actively. I'm gonna create that scandal for you to cover.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because I just want to see like some scandal, some lawmaker somewhere is like betting against the markets that he's
100%, right?
And
this
just cashing in.
An economy ripe for scam.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for.
But what made me think of that is I was looking at what was it, Mark Lamb's stock, and it's basically the political prediction market. Very simplistic explanation here is like each politician, each outcome. This is a race-based, the political race-based outcome. So it's, will Mark Lamb win the GOP primary in congressional district, whatever? And, Mark Lamb, you can pick yes and buy his stock for, 20 cents because it doesn't seem that likely. And then, if he turns out to be in the lead, his stock rises and you have to pay more to buy that stock and whatever. One day, his stock was worth like 30 cents. The next day it was worth 60 cents. What happened that day? Trump endorsed him.
Yep.
And it's like that is a very accurate, kind of read of how the political economy works at this point is without Trump's endorsement, 30 cents.
I mean,
with Trump's
betting markets work that way. It's like you can argue it can take some of the bias out because what the people getting into that market, they don't care. They want money.
I'm actually fascinated by this because I think polling is done. I think we're all going to be relying on the political prediction markets because it is a much more serious metric in some way. People are putting real money in this. It is not, random phone call to landline users who have never heard of this candidate. It's people who are doing real data analysis, real serious, data analysis of politics to try to, do what they do in the stock market. So I'm all in.
But then you got to worry about someone like, let's say, just pulling a randomly, just hypothetically, let's say you had a really, really wealthy candidate running for governor that owned Lear jets and yachts, hypothetically. Couldn't they distort?
That's a good hypothetical.
Couldn't they distort the betting market?
You could probably, huh? Depending on the actual size of the market, $1 million put into X campaign could make that campaign seem much more.
Yeah, all of a sudden, that hypothetical candidate may look unbeatable. Look, it's going to be $20 to buy into this.
And that is the scandal you've been waiting for, right there. Is somebody manipulating their own stock by flooding it with their campaign cash to try to manipulate the market?
No, I'm looking forward to another one too because apparently. There's some. I heard about this. There's some off-seas markets, betting markets that can bet on votes, like whether people will vote one way or the other.
Interesting.
I'm waiting for somebody to get busted on that. What?
There's a reason political betting is actually outlawed in Arizona, which is maybe how we should have started this conversation. All of this that we're talking about is illegal here in Arizona.
Oh yeah, that's why these things are all offshore. Yeah. I mean, basically betting on politics in the United States is illegal for very good reason. Well, let's get back. Let's get back to the 8-ball real quick. Let's run through some of these races. So, according to the 8-ball, it's likely going to be Biggs and Hobbs. Will Andy Biggs be the next governor of Arizona?
Ask again later. It's later.
Okay.
Outlook, not so good.
Are you serious?
Whoa, Andy.
Wow, I got to agree with the 8-ball again.
I'm telling you, this is better than a guess. This is the whole podcast from here on out.
Because, I mean, the one thing is with him, I just see he's got a long voting history.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of interesting votes there. I mean, even though he's not going to be the bombastic MAGA candidate, he's still very MAGA. And Arizona voters have rejected that candidate.
Yeah, I can almost like look at this two ways where I'm like, so Carrie Lake, was in some ways a great candidate, in some ways a terrible candidate because, she was just so pure to herself that, she didn't change at all. And like, just, and Andy Biggs is like not got that charisma of her, that Carrie Lake brings to the table, but is also like lower key. And so I can see like that charisma made her very high profile and very, and then everyone had an opinion about her and it was no longer voting along party lines. It was kind of like, can I stomach this? And I think like a true, MAGA conservative who can downplay that may be able to kind of pick up the best of both worlds. So I could make that argument, but also like, I don't know, isn't politics just charisma at this point? Isn't it just like,
Gotta have
how
the
much
Riz.
you can perform? The Riz.
The Riz.
The whole game is Riz at this point.
The game's not rigged. It's Riz.
That's even worse somehow. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I hear every case of this theory, and all of them seem somewhat plausible. I'm done predicting elections.
Yeah,
This is what I'm doing from here on out. What do we got, Dennis? You want to ask some more questions? I got answers. I got certainty over
Let's see here. What AG's race, right? Who's going to win the Republican nomination? Will Rodney Glassman win the Republican nomination for Attorney General?
Most likely.
Wow. See, my money's on Peterson winning
think so?
the nomination.
I don't know. Rodney's doing well in finance. And well, now I'll have to go back and check before I say that, but I think he's not putting this money into his campaign himself. I think he is legitimately raising serious money.
Okay. So you're maybe on the side of the 8-ball on this one?
I don't know. Yeah. Well, it's been good so far. Let's just stick with it.
All right. Will
Secretary of State's race? Should we pull that one up? Okay.
Will Chris Mays be reelected Attorney General?
That's a good one. Cannot predict now. That's not an answer.
That's
that I'm
not
willing to settle
satisfying at
for.
all.
This one's just a shape. What the hell? Oh, yes. It says
Wow.
yes. I don't know if
Wow.
I manipulated that market.
But
Just for certainty.
do you?
Most likely no. Okay. We don't know. That one's a wash.
It's a wash. Where are you at on this? Because I think it's a tough re-election fight for her.
I do too.
She won by 320 votes or something like that.
280.
280.
Yep.
She won by 280 votes.
And all of those votes were fake.
Well, of course. And then what? I mean,
Yeah, I think that's the hardest of the races to predict, which is why the 8-ball gave us two completely different answers on
the
it.
8-ball's
because-
confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess she has not tried to, tack to the center as a
Not much.
AG.
I think she's shown some, I don't think she has tacked to the center, but I think she has rightly spent a fair amount of her energy focusing on nonpartisan issue, consumer protection. We hate corporations who are screwing over Arizonans. There is no red or blue to that equation, and she spent a lot of time in rural Arizona. She's a former Republican. Like, she's got some things going for her that are not that leader of the resistance. And I think it will come down to how well does she portray that aspect of her tenure versus fake electors, fake indictments.
Well, in lawsuits against the Trump administration. I mean, that's the stuff a lot of voters, a chunk of voters care about, right? I mean, because I also think she has people on the base that are going to be very excited to vote for her as well. That's not going to be a problem.
Yep.
And I think a lot depends on who ends up winning the Republican nomination.
I do too. Totally.
So
I don't know which one of these Republicans has a better chance, but I do think it's a lot like it will matter who her opponent is and whether that opponent comes off as a crazy MAGA, And I think that is a much easier person to beat than a, centrist Republican, used to be a Democrat down in Tucson, Rodney Glassman. And we can all roll our eyes at Rodney Glassman, you know, because we understand the history of Rodney Glassman.
We can
but
play
as a person showing up on your ballot, meh.
Well, you know, yeah. I mean, he could score some cred with the MAGA crew because he did challenge John McCain.
Good throwback. Colin, can we pull up the cut, please? You know what cut I'm talking about.
Okay.
Sweet home Arizona. Dennis and I can just sing it.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's great.
Well, I mean, there's that, and I did see a cut of him singing opera once.
Oh, really? Was it good? Okay.
You know, when politicians put on baseball hats or do anything like ride bikes or go to a grocery store, it never is that. This doesn't look appealing. I'm not going to say he's got a good voice or a bad voice. I'm just saying it's a politician singing opera.
Can we? I would like to see you sing some opera.
No.
You're musically inclined.
No.
Can we have an opera off? Just like, who did it better?
Yes, next time we'll opera it off, man. What else we got? Secretary of State's race. Let's do it.
I don't need a name ball for this one. Wait, what are we asking?
You ask it.
Okay.
You ask it this time.
Does Adrian Fontes win his re-election as Secretary of State in Arizona? Ooh, don't count on it. Sorry, Adrian.
Ooh, I'm going to disagree with you.
I would too. I would too.
Okay, so
I would say unless there are some new and more serious contenders jumping into this race, and I don't know that a new and more serious contender on the Republican side could beat Alex Collodin, who seems to have the turning point and base wrapped thoroughly around his candidacy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as dynamics as they stand right now, I would say that is the race that I feel comfortable disagreeing with the almighty 8-ball on.
And then we got to get out of here. 2 congressional races. We got 2 swing districts here in Arizona, legit swing districts.
And one of them is going to be wide open.
Yeah.
Juan Ciscomani, should we start there?
Yes.
Okay, Juan Ciscomani for re-election.
Will he win re-election?
Will he win re-election? God, this is a great podcast. Without a doubt. Well, that's bold, but okay. Okay, the 8-ball has spoken. What do you think?
I'm hesitant to agree with that.
I don't, without a doubt, it. If it had said it is most likely, or they go a little bit more wishy-washy language. Come on, 8-ball.
Just with the history of that area, that seat goes back and forth
every 2 years, basically.
Yeah, just the history on that, and I don't know if this is going to be a banner year for Republicans coming up. Those congressional races are going to be interesting.
Yep.
Well,
and then we've got the David Schweikert district.
Will Democrats finally win
right
in CD1?
This is the year. What does the 8-ball say? I look good on that one.
I like that. I can live with that one.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably
I have no idea at this point who's going to emerge as the nominee there, but Swoboda is in there, Gina Swoboda.
What do you make of Swoboda's candidacy?
I don't know yet. I think, I was always been surprised when I first met her. Like,
she's super interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's got an interesting story, when her story about why she became a Republican is super interesting, because they cleared the field for Hillary. She's a former Democrat, right?
Former elections official, a certified election, whatever it is. She knows her stuff when it comes. She worked in the Secretary of State's office under Republican and Democratic administrations. Is pretty beloved by the base, although this war that she's got going on with Turning Point and some of its top lieutenants is fascinating. It's the only thing to watch on Twitter, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weirdness going on in that area where I'm like, I don't know what to make of that at this point.
Yeah,
but
and the thing is, like, Swoboda, too, is just comes off as really likable.
She is impossible to dislike.
Yeah.
I just like a lot of people.
And I'm like, you were telling me before this you dislike me, but like, she's very likable too. I mean, when we were talking about the Riz earlier, I mean, can that come across?
And she's got that authenticity too, I would say.
Yes.
Like, it has been interesting to watch her, like, come into her own as something of a candidate, you know? Like,
Mhm.
I think watching her kind of stand up to the Turning Point crowd and forcefully, not weakly, like a lot of the kind of Republicans who don't agree with that world, kind of, you know, demure and whatever. She is strong. She's fascinating. Really, really interesting
Mhm.
candidate.
Yeah.
I think that was a good pick for that district. I don't know if there are others still kind of looking to get in or something, but like she fits the profile. I think she gives Republicans a pretty fighting chance in that district.
A better fighting chance. I think the only reason why I think a big reason why Schweikert's not running against because there was probably some polling done, and it was pretty
Polling
tough.
done every 2
Yeah,
years,
I know,
and yet
right?
Schweikert keeps
I
pulling it
know,
off.
but I think maybe he
yeah.
saw something going
Yeah,
on there.
could
That
be.
maybe it was time to go.
Mhm.
You know, the other thing, my other theory with him is that maybe he's just tired of Congress, and he thought, you know, he's probably always wanted to be governor. Like, why not just take a shot?
Yep, that's
And-
kind of my read on the situation.
and-
It's like,
yeah.
well, I'm done here. Meh, why not?
At worst, I don't have to jump on that damn plane anymore.
Yep. That's got to be an exhausting life, you know? And he's been doing it for a very long time. And
I remember Ed Pastor when he
changed.
retired. He showed us his frequent flyer card.
Oh.
He had like millions of miles on it. It was like absurd, like how many miles? Because you know, like
it's a good scam right there.
it is. But
Spend
like,
your retirement years just
but that
flying the world.
yeah, that flight to New York or DC is 1 hour too long, in my opinion, because like you're on there. It's like a 5-hour flight, and you feel like you should be in a different country when you land.
Yeah,
You're
literally.
not.
I go to Mexico City all the time. It's a 3-hour flight.
Yeah.
Lovely, nonstop.
Yes, and
Easier than getting to DC.
yeah, you know, and it's just you're doing that, and you're in Congress. You're coming back and forth all the time.
Mhm.
At least you better be.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's an exhausting life. Well, before we go,
One
anything-
last prediction for the 8-ball?
Okay. Yeah, what do we got?
Going to
What-
end with me? I thought we'd end with
one
the star
last,
of the show.
One last prediction for the 8-ball. What would it be? What do we want to know? What do we got? Governor's race. We went through the AG's race. We went through the Secretary of State. I mean, I
Legislature
don't.
Flips?
Hmm?
Legislature flips?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Does one of the chambers at the Arizona legislature flip from Republican to Democrat?
Most likely. Ooh, this is the year, Democrats. You've been waiting a long time. The 8-ball is on your side.
Will these?
Or
Is
now
it
we're
the
getting
Senate?
down to which chamber?
Is it is it the Senate, the Arizona Senate that will flip from Republican to Democrat?
Outlook good. Outlook good.
Okay, there we go.
And we've answered all the questions. There's no need for a podcast in 2026 till the recap, just to talk about how
Hey,
right
look,
we
man, I'm
were.
not going to disagree with the 8-ball. It's pretty on the nose. I'm just the legislative flipping story. I've just too many times Lucy with the football, the other things.
That 8-ball is clearly a liberal.
I
A
wonder.
hopeful liberal.
I wonder. We should check the registration for the 8-ball.
There we go. That seems like a good place to shut this down, huh?
Yes, it does. Hey, Hank, thanks for sticking around, for coming by, putting up with the 8-ball.
I feel like, honestly, I wasn't even here. It was just the 8-ball answering all your questions. I was just the shaker, but that's cool.
All right, man. It's great seeing you again. Bye.
Awesome. Anytime.
And welcome back to the second half of the Politics Unplugged podcast. As always, joined by Colin Stanton, the producer extraordinaire. Colin, what'd you think, man? Should we keep the 8-ball around?
That was a pretty good gimmick.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed the 8-ball gimmick. That was fun.
Yeah,
It did a fairly good job, I think.
I was a little bit shocked by how kind of where I was leaning. Like that's where the 8-ball was.
Yeah. I mean, we could all just be wrong, but
Well, pretty much. I mean, you know, people like Nate Silver and stuff like that have been like saying that basically most political pundits are about as good as.
I mean, I'll take the 8-ball over Nate Silver without a question.
At this point, yes, that guy is something else.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought most of the predictions were pretty reasonable. I'm not sure about Juan Ciscomani winning without a doubt.
Yes.
If I'm betting on that race, that's not where I'm going.
Yeah,
But,
in that race too. I mean, almost regardless of candidate, it's just the history of that district. It just goes
Exactly.
back and forth.
If we have a district that constantly goes back and forth, I would suspect that in these coming midterms, they probably don't go Republican.
Yeah, it could be a tough climb for Republicans. We'll have to see how Siscomani can navigate this.
Yes.
So we'll see. But let's get to it, man. We wanted to talk about Steve Cropper.
Yeah.
And for anybody who doesn't know who that is, that's a shame because he's an iconic guitar player, songwriter, producer, whatever.
That he was the guitarist for the house band at Stax Records.
Yeah.
And Booker T and the MGs, meaning whatever your favorite R&B song of the 60s was, there's a really good chance he was playing guitar on that.
Yeah, he passed away this week, and it's just like we just wanted to say a couple words about this because we had a big discussion, a nice discussion a few months ago about the Stax Records documentary, which he was a part of.
Yeah.
Just wanted to express just how big of a deal this is. Wanted to pay a little bit of honor to his life and legacy, and again, as you put it, if you listen to any kind of soul from the '60s, and it's probably a good chance he played on it.
Yeah, apart from Booker T and the MGs, we're talking Otis Redding sitting on the dock of the bay. He also produced that right after Otis was killed in the plane crash.
Yeah.
In the Midnight Hour by Wilson Pickett, Soul Man by Sam and Dave, all of that is Steve Cropper on guitar. Absolutely one of the great guitarists of all time, and tends not to get the credit.
Did you mention Green Onions, Booker T and MGs?
For my money, the greatest rock instrumental of all time, Green Onions by Booker T and the MGs. It's Booker T on the organ and it's Steve Cropper on guitar.
Yeah,
and it's fabulous.
It is. It's just the vibe. But Booker T and the MGs, they got some other really really great songs.
Yeah,
that are a little under recognized or a little bit unknown. But I think everybody, knows Green Onions. I mean, I guess what I was saying to you yesterday, why this is such a big deal, is if you don't know the name, you probably know so many of the songs he played on. I mean, these things are woven into the the DNA of American pop culture at this point. It's just you grow up with them. Like a lot of those songs, I don't remember not knowing. You just grew up with this stuff.
Yes.
Like, when's the first time you heard heard Sam and Dave?
And that guitar to Soul Man, you've heard a million times. You've probably never thought about it because, again, it's just been fabric of your life the whole time. That was Steve Cropper.
Yeah.
It's been a little dismaying to me to see how many people seem to only know him through the Blues Brothers Band. And he was in the Blues Brothers Band. And I don't know that people fully appreciate that the Blues Brothers Band was absolutely slumming it playing behind two comedians. They're playing songs with this band, and it's a cover for John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. It's not a cover for Steve Cropper. He played on it.
Or Duck Dunn.
Donald Duck Dunn. Bass player from Booker T and the MGs, also in the Blues Brothers Band.
Yeah, and that is they were talking about. Like, it wasn't a cover band for them.
Yeah.
Like, he wrote that shit.
Yeah, this is their stuff.
And like that band, you could throw me or you in front of it, and it's going to be dynamite.
Yes.
Like, you cannot.
They put Aykroyd in front of it, so my God, yes.
Yeah, you could not, because that band was so wonderful.
Yes.
And so talented. It was.
Yeah.
And Steve Cropper's big line, a good country key. It's a great line. Right before they play Rawhide.
Yeah.
What key is this in? A good country key.
Yeah. And again, we discussed it on the pod before. If you've not seen the Stax documentary that is on HBO Max, watch it. It's if nothing else, the formation of Booker T and the MGs is a preposterous story.
Yeah, and I was watched some of it last night again, and that's again I had forgotten that Steve Cropper did he produced Sitting on the Dock of the Bay days after Otis Redding died. It was just heartbreaking because, Otis Redding dies in this plane crash, and then a few days later, Atlantic Records is calling Stax saying, "We need that record."
Yeah.
Well, he just died. Need the record.
Yeah.
And so, and you get a sense of how familial Stax Records was. This was a real family.
Yeah.
Everybody was really close, and so Cropper goes in and mixes it up and sends it to the sends it to Atlantic Records, and he said it's one of the hardest things he ever had to do, and I don't doubt that.
No, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's one of the great songs of all time, and those are the circumstances.
Mm.
And as I recall, when they formed the band, Steve Cropper was he was the clerk at the record store that was attached to Stax Records.
Yeah.
Stax Records. They needed a band on short notice, so they grabbed the high school kid who was in class at the time, who they knew could play the organ, and they grabbed the record clerk who could play guitar, and it was Booker T. Washington and Steve Cropper.
Yeah, and I think I forget which song it was. It's one of the early songs they put together. It might have been Green Onions or something, or with the young woman before them. The guy who started Stax Records with his sister.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I heard this song. I was like, yep, I'm done with country. Because the guy started, he wanted to do country music.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole R&B thing worked a little better. The soul music thing working a little better.
Well, they created a whole sound. It's different than Motown. They were the Motown of the South. It was rawer, I think, than Motown, more aggressive, less polished than Motown.
Yes.
And I think, it was no intention of mine, but a lot of my favorite soul songs tend to be more Stax Records than Motown.
Yeah.
Not to take anything away from Motown.
Motown was wonderful. I will take Otis and, Sam and Dave. And
Sam and Dave is probably my all-time favorite. Those two, wow. But an Otis Redding, anytime you listen to an Otis Redding song, you forget, like, wow, that guy's got... He's got the feels, man.
Yes. No, he was amazing.
Oh, man. How we doing on time, dude?
Yeah, you got another 5 minutes or so.
Okay, you want to blow through this dumb list?
Yeah, we always enjoy a stupid list.
This might be the dumbest.
Which means, of course, you can credit it to AI.
Yeah, okay.
This is I found this on social media, so I'm sure it's true. ChatGPT's top 50 greatest moments in sports history. This has been circulating on social media.
This is a really okay. Like, I hope anybody watching, listening, like, please, I hope you're sitting down because this is some dumb shit. I mean, some really dumb stuff.
All right, so number one, Miracle on Ice from 1980. It says something that when I told you about this list, you guessed that number one would be the Miracle on Ice. Yeah. So you can't be particularly outraged it's the Miracle on Ice, which was great. And number two, Michael Phelps wins 8 gold medals at the 2008 Olympics. Michael Phelps is a great athlete, all-time great athlete, great swimmer. They hand out gold medals like chiclets in the swimming competitions at Olympics. If you're the best swimmer, you win a big pile of medals because they come up with all different ways to swim, and they say, "Wow, you're still the best swimmer."
Yeah, well, you swam faster than everybody for 50 yards. Here's a medal. You swam faster than everybody for 100 yards.
Oh, we had you do another length, and you were still the fastest swimmer.
Yeah,
here's another medal. Yeah. He's a great swimmer. It's a terrific accomplishment. Number two. No. I'll run through the top 10 real quick. Number 3, Muhammad Ali defeats Sonny Liston in 1964. Okay. Number 4, Patriots 28-3 comeback in Super Bowl in 2017.
I could not believe that was that high on the list.
Number 5, Michael Jordan's game winner over Craig Elo in 1989.
The biggest shot that meant nothing.
Yeah. Number 6, Secretariat wins the Belmont Stakes in 1973. I have a hard time saying a horse is too low on a list when it's top 10 of the greatest sports moments of all time, but the horse may be too low on the list. Yeah, go back and look at the video.
Go back. The video's up there, and it's freaking incredible, man.
Secretariat kicked ass. Number 7, Usain Bolt, 9.58 world record in the 100-meter. I'm not going to argue too much on that. Yeah. Number 8, the Franco Harris Immaculate Reception in 1972. It's a great highlight. I don't know if it's the greatest moment. It's a great highlight. Number 9, Diego Maradona's goal of the century in 1996. I'm assuming, is that the Hand of God goal? Do you know?
That better not be, because that was That's a scandalous moment in
I
international
meant to look
soccer.
this up and I didn't. Goal of the century. I'm not familiar with that.
It's-
I'm
it
familiar with the
probably
hand
is.
of God goal, which was Diego Maradona punching into the goal with his fist. Which
You can't do.
if you're unfamiliar with soccer, use of the hands like that is frowned upon. Number 10, Dwight Clark's The Catch in '82. Whatever.
But we talked about a couple of things that were really egregious. Like,
Yeah.
because they had Kobe Bryant's 81-point game.
So number 12, Kobe Bryant's 81-point game. Number 12
yeah, that's fine. Okay. But
seems high, but whatever. Number 29 is Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game.
fucking dumb.
How?
So dumb.
How is an 81-point game at 12 and a 100-point game is 29?
Mhm.
And don't give me played against plumbers. Wilt didn't really play against plumbers, but my God, he scored 100 points in a game.
100 points.
100 points in a game.
In a year like you broke down the average, he averaged 50.
It was in 1962, the 61-62 season. I believe the stats are he averaged 50 points, he averaged 20 rebounds, and he averaged 48.5 minutes per game. For those who are unfamiliar, a basketball game, an NBA game, is 48 minutes. He averaged 48.5 because he never came out and he played some overtime games. It's a preposterous season.
Biggest omission too is, I mean, there was a few baseball references there.
Yeah.
But it didn't mention Shohei Ohtani's performance in this year's playoff, where he struck out 10 and hit 3 home runs.
Yes.
Which I would say is the greatest game of baseball anyone has ever played, bar none, not even close. And if you consider the 1 million year history of baseball, that's saying a lot.
Yes. It's an insane. I will give ChatGPT a slight break in that it just happened, so that probably threw things off. But that absolutely belongs high on the list.
Mhm.
One more thing before we go, because I thought this was ridiculous. Conor McGregor knocked a guy out. That's number 11. Conor McGregor got submitted by someone else. That's 42. So Conor McGregor involved in 2 of the top 50 moments. If you're going combat sports, how do you not have Mike Tyson eating Evander Holyfield's ear in one of the most anticipated fights of all time? That's not top 50, but Conor McGregor.
Or you can go
gets
reverse
2
on
spots.
You can go reverse on that Buster Douglas knocking
Buster
out.
Douglas knocking him out.
I mean, for those who don't remember, that was an absolute stunner.
Yes. Buster Douglas was the tomato can that Tyson was fighting to get to the real fight, and Buster Douglas won.
Mm-hmm.
That's not on the list, but we got Conor McGregor on there twice.
God, and we got Kobe Bryant's 81 ahead of whatever, man. This is dumb.
Yes.
So sounds like we're out of time.
I think we're out of time.
All right. Hey, man. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Hope
I
everybody
did.
had a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
All right.
Thanks for listening. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the Google Store, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. See you next time.